My friends, welcome to another episode of the evolution of the home. You are watching Valentina Design Universe, and this episode is about the salt. The title I came up with this episode for this episode is "Pass the Salt, Please," and this this was an article that I wrote a few years ago after I returned from England, and I saw this beautiful piece on my right side of the screen. I'm going to tell you what it is. By the way, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Valentina Girasola, the host of this show, and I am talking about Pass the Salt, Please. So let's see what happens with the salt. Before refrigerator was invented, salt and many different spices were very important for the conservation of meat or fish. In the haute cuisine of the Middle Ages, spices were abundantly used for a couple of reasons. One was to prove the higher status symbol that someone had reached. Rich people, in fact, could afford to buy the spices, and they actually consumed about 2 pounds of spices a day. But in the most modest homes, households, the common spices were mustard, um, the most affordable, mustard, vinegar, onions, garlic, and salt. The second reason for using salt and spices was often to cover up the foul taste and smell of the fish or meat that had gone bad because refrigerator was not available. Any kind of refrigeration was not there yet. So salt consumptions in the 13th century was in such a high demand that it was necessary to create beds of salt drawn from the oceans and seas, and that because everyone used it for conserving food. It was this salt in the salt beds were dark, coarse, and contained a lot of impurities from the sea. But it was the best for curing meat and other uh, food than the white refined salt. The white variety salt was used for cooking because it was cleaner, and so it was considered precious, and thus it was more expensive. Did the people in the Middle Age use salt shakers on the table as we do today? Not really, but listen to this. In the British Museum that I mentioned earlier, I saw it is called the Neve, and which is the beautiful piece you see on my screen on the right. It's an elegant, stunning piece. It's a vessel for salt that it's is still today in elegant household, and is you can see it in the museum. It was used for salt in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. This extravagant piece of the 15th century was this particular one was shaped as in the shape of a ship with the most elaborate figurine headmasters and even the crew. As I said, the figurines were the crew. The particularity of this Neve salt vessel was that it was placed in front of the most important person. And after this person used the salt in it, he rolled it from one end to the other of the table or passed it through each guest. But this is the most elegant because the German example has wheels. Otherwise, all the other ones were made just with stand and legs. But the German style Nef even had a clock, music, and the figurines were animated by a small engine. So, can you imagine this beautiful piece on the table? And I think it's just stunning to have this piece as a centerpiece, and then to have it rolled from one guest to another to to just use it for salt. It's just beautiful, I think. So the nef used in the Renaissance and was usually made in silver or silver gilt or gold gilt, and often was embellished with enamels and jewels. So even better, I would love to have a piece like that. A dinner table of the Middle Age and Renaissance, it fascinated me when I read about these things. It just fascinates me. There were no silverware on the table, no knives, no napkins, no refined glassware. As a glassware as a drinking vessel, I would say they used pewter goblets. It was just after the Renaissance that glasses started to come out. But in the Middle Ages, there was nothing on the table, only knives. And during the grand feast, they had the grandest effect that you can imagine with gold and silver leaf gilding the beaks of an animals, the feet of all the animals that they ate, which we do not do that anymore. We don't have for dinner peacocks and pheasant and swans and other kind of wild birds, all roasted, and all the feet and beaks. They were presented like that at the table, but they were gilded in gold and silver. Different times, different customs. I'm so glad we don't do that today. So it also amazed me that to think that in these sophisticated effect came from dark kitchen, full of smokes, unhygienical, no automation, and also cooked all the things cooked in cauldrons and cast iron pan, so very heavy to carry around. So this proves my theory that I've always had it, that if you can orchestrate a dinner, you can do it anywhere, even in a small kitchen. In fact, small kitchens are for geniuses. That's what I think. You don't need a huge kitchen. If you know how to cook, you can do it anywhere, even in a small hole in a wall. So sometimes I wonder all the big kitchen, huge kitchen that I have designed. And the only thing those people would hear was the dinging of the microwave. Ding, and the food were done, meaning they took it from outside and brought it in and warm it up. But that's not the discussion for today. The discussion for today is about salt vessels and how they came about. The center picture you see on my screen is a very special Capodimonte ceramic piece, handmade in Italy. Capo di Monte is in the area of around Naples. It's a piece that was very special in my family and came out, was put on the table only when we had a large gathering of family and friends for dinner for the most important holidays and or occasion. It didn't have to be in holidays, could be just even a birthday. And this was put on the table, that centerpiece was put on the table for salt for the courtesy of the guests. But it was hardly used. It was on the table, but people hardly used it. And you know why? Because first is disrespectful to put salt on your food if someone cooked it for you. That means that you don't trust the cook or the chef that did the right balancing of the savors and the flavors and all of that. So generally, nobody used it. And it shouldn't be even in the restaurant. You shouldn't use a salt shaker because if it's a good restaurant, the chef knows how to balance the salt, the sugar, and all the flavors together. So, do you have any specific or special nefs or a special salt vessel? If you do, I'd like to see pictures in this thread. That will make a very nice conversation. Anyway, thank you for watching. My dinner was very nice. The fireplace is on. It's kind of cold tonight. It is evening. The fireplace is on. It feels like almost like a winter night. But I've been thinking about this subject today about salt and food and cooking, and it was kind of exciting. So I made a very nice dinner, and I took that Capo di Monte piece in my screen on my screen because now I have it. I've inherited. It's very precious to me. It has a silver spoon and it's ceramics and golden pedestal on the bottom. So I do use it every day. I don't wait for the guest to come around. I use it every day because I'm important as just everybody else. Okay? And I want you to think the same of you. You're important. If you have nice things, use it. Use them. Use everything that makes you feel good. Okay? Until the next episode of the Home Evolution, a big kiss, peace, love. I hope you're doing good. Bye.